All right, if you feel overwhelmed and frustrated and you're just always kind of annoyed with your life because of all the obligations and all the things you have to do, then this is for you. So I'm often surprised by how many lessons I learned in life, how some of the most important lessons came from like little, like innocuous or silly situations. I remember in high school, one time I was leaving campus, like I was skipping school. And so I was going out to my car to take off. And this girl asked me if I was leaving, and I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. And she's like, can I get a ride? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't really know her. I don't remember her name. I vaguely remember who she was at all. But we go ahead and she wanted to skip too, so we're leaving. And after we get off campus, she said, hey, can we go pick up my boyfriend? And I was like, yeah. So we swing by this apartment complex and pick up her boyfriend. And they're both riding in the back seat and they get in a fight. And you could hear them just kind of like bickering back and forth with each other. And at one point she said, Sheldon, you have to. And he said, the only thing I have to do is stay black and die. And man, I remember that, like, that was like a bullet through my brain. It was like, whoa, like I don't have to do all the things I feel like I have to do. Now, I was 16 years old and skipping school, so obviously not like the brightest kid in the world. And I didn't use this advice well. I stopped doing all the things I didn't have to do, but I stopped doing all the good things, and it didn't lead to anywhere good for me. But over the course of my life, as I've learned and grown and matured, I've learned that there's actually a really deep truth in this. There's a really deep truth here. And so, we're sticking to our format of the walkthrough. This episode is for you if the room that you're in is that you just feel constantly frustrated. You feel overwhelmed by all the things you have to do. You feel like you're pushed and pulled by just all these obligations and just that's a miserable way to live. Like I struggle with that sometimes too. I have a lot of things coming at me. I have a family, I have a business, I'm active in different organizations. I don't really have hobbies. I have one hobby, but I often feel like, oh, I don't want to do these things. I mean, later today, we're going to do Christmas pictures. Look, I'm very cognizant of how fortunate I am to be able to get pictures, of how fortunate I am to have a family. To get to do these kinds of things is a privilege, but I don't want to go do it. I don't like leaving my house. I don't like dressing up. I don't like taking those, I just don't like doing that stuff. I don't know. I know it's good, but I just don't want to. And so I get caught up in this too, this idea that I have to. And so if that's the room you're in, it's a frustrating place to be. Now, the room that we're going to talk about getting you to, the room you want to be in, is a room where you don't feel this frustration. You feel like you are in charge of your life. You feel like you are active in your choices. You feel like you are doing the things you want to do in life. And it's not always this stuff that's great, but you don't feel obligated. You don't feel like your life is out of control. You don't feel like you are just powerless and pinned down by life. That's the room you want to be in. And there's no nice way to put it, but the locked door that's keeping you out of that room, the door that's keeping you from leaving this room of frustration into the room of freedom, is the fact that you're not taking full responsibility for your choices. I know that sounds harsh, but I think that's one of the most powerful things in the world. Like, I love it when I realize that a problem is my fault. I love that because that means I can do something about it. There's a lot of problems out there that I can't do anything about. There's all sorts of stuff. Global warming, terrorism, just all the stuff that's going on in the world right now. Like, those are frustrating to me because I can't do anything about them. I have no power. I'm nobody. Nobody gives a shit what I have to say about those things. If they did, I'd probably tell them they need to not give a shit what I have to say about those things. Those are where you're really powerless. But when you can recognize that something is the result of what you are doing or not doing, it's actually a great moment. I think that's why it really sucks that we're doing everything we can to remove responsibility from people. We're doing everything we can. I think it's done in the name of compassion and kindness and whatever nice thing they want to couch it in. But we are not helping anybody by removing responsibility from them. So when I say that this feeling of being overwhelmed and trapped and just that your life is out of your control, when I say that that's the result of you failing to really embrace responsibility in your life, I promise you that's a good thing. So we've got the room you're in. Frustrated, feel like your life's out of control. We've got the room you want to be in. You're in control of your life. You feel like your choices matter. And the locked door is the fact that you're not taking responsibility for the things that you do and don't do. So I want to give you the key to that locked door. And the key is that you don't have to do really much of anything. I go through this exercise with my clients a lot. And I'll ask them, what do you have to do? What do you have to do in life? And some of the most common answers, I think the first one is usually like, well, I have to go to work, I have to pay bills. And I say, no, you don't. You choose to go to work so that you can pay your bills. And they're like, well, I have to, because if I don't pay my mortgage, I'll lose my house. If I don't pay my electricity, they're going to cut it off. Okay, cool. So we can say that you are choosing to go to work so that you can have electricity and pay your mortgage and buy groceries. Like, you're choosing to do that, right? And they say, okay, yeah. And they say, well, I have to feed my kids. You don't have to feed your kids. It's unfortunate we have an entire social structure of agencies and organizations that step in when people don't feed their kids. I hope you feed your kids because you love them, but maybe you feed your kids just because you don't want to tangle with child protective services or whatever, but you don't have to feed your kids. It happens all the time where people don't feed their kids, you know? I think part of my job as a therapist was working with people whose parents failed to take care of them the way that parents are supposed to take care of their kids, so it's obviously a choice. And we go down this whole list, and they say things like, well, I have to eat. No, you don't. There's people who don't eat all the time. Some of them don't eat to the point of not being here anymore. And they say, well, I have to breathe. And I say, unfortunately, there are people who take actions to keep themselves from breathing as well. And that's where we're getting closer. And it comes down to, you have to die someday. That's something that so far every human has done. We're batting 1,000 on dying at some point after being born. And really everything else is a choice. And I want to be clear, like, I get that you can be pedantic and annoying about this and be like, well, I have to think. And like, if that's like, if you're going to miss the point that badly and on purpose, like, I don't know, go find another podcast to watch. You know what I mean here. You know what I'm saying is that really all these things that we feel like we have to do, all these things that are driving us, I have to feed my kids, I have to do the dishes, I have to pay my bills, I tell people, I don't have to pay my taxes. I don't like the way my taxes are spent 90% of the time. I think that it's profoundly wasteful, and a lot of them are invested into things that I disagree with. But it's part of living in a society with other people. It's part of the way it works. And ultimately, I don't want to tangle with the IRS. I hate bureaucracy. I don't like things where I have no power. You have no power when you're in a fight with the IRS. I don't want to do that. So I pay my taxes. I choose to pay my taxes so that I don't have to tangle with them. I have to go through this exercise. I want to be clear. Like I have to go through this exercise with myself sometimes. Like I said about taking Christmas pictures today. I don't have to take these pictures. I could go upstairs right now and tell my wife, y'all go do it. I ain't doing it. She couldn't do anything about it. Like, she can't make me. What's she going to do? Call the cops? My husband won't go take pictures with us? I'm choosing to go take these pictures because it makes her happy. It's one of the most important things in the world to her. It's beyond that. It's my fault we're taking them. She was kind of bummed out because she hadn't got them set up, and she's like, I guess we're not going to have pictures this year. And I could tell she wasn't happy about it. So I texted our photographer and said, hey, can you still fit us in? And she said, I can fit y'all in. And so I Venmo'd her right then, and that's what we're going to do. So it's so funny to watch the mind. I went out of my way to do this because I love my wife and I want her to be happy. And my brain is still trying to get me sideways with it. Like that's so ridiculous and funny that our brains do that. When you fully embrace that the things you do, you're choosing to do, it is a radical realtering of your relationship with reality because you become an agent in everything you do. I don't have to do the dishes. I choose to do the dishes because I want them to be clean and I don't like a dirty kitchen. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to talk. I don't have to do this podcast. I choose to do this because I'm so privileged and fortunate to have been able to work with people over the past 20 years or so. I've learned a lot and I want to share that with people. That's why I choose to do this, but I still can get sideways when it's time to sit down and record. This is not supernatural to me. I've said that. This is not like my thing, but I choose to do it because I want to help people. I hope it's worth it for people, and I get feedback that says it is worth it, and that's cool. That keeps me going. That's a choice. Now, here's the uncomfortable part of it, is that sometimes there will be things that you realize you don't have to do, and you decide not to do them anymore. And that could cause you trouble with your friends and your family and with society at large. There's a lot of little things that I'm supposed to do that I just don't do. There's events that you should want to go because you were invited, and it's good for your business. No, I'm choosing not to go. The thing is, if you're going to do that, if you're going to choose not to do some of these things, you have to own that choice as well and own the repercussions and own the consequences. I think you got to be real careful in how you do this. You could choose to stop taking care of your kids and choose to stop paying your taxes and all that. There's going to be consequences. But when they come, embrace the fact that you got yourself there. It's not about blame. It's not about criticism. It's about recognizing that you have agency in your own life. It's about recognizing that this is not just on a rail and all your power has been taken from you. I do understand, like, we have to choose from limited options. Like, I can't choose to go fly across, I can't choose to fly like Superman to the pictures this afternoon. That's not a choice within my control, and it's kind of stupid to focus on things like that. Like, I can always tell when I'm talking to somebody that I don't want to work with because they do this little nitpicky stuff, And of course, we're all within the confines of reality. We're all within the confines of our social order to some extent. So don't get caught up on that. That's just dumb. That's finding a way to me. Those are people who are invested in being miserable, and I don't have time for them, and I don't want to deal with them. You shouldn't deal with them either. They're a pain in the ass. When you start embracing this change in your life, this change of just saying, I don't have to do anything. I'm choosing to do it. The next time you get frustrated with something, you're like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. Stop and ask yourself, why am I choosing to do this? And it will reorient how you approach that thing. It's super helpful. When I'm tired of doing the dishes or doing my laundry, I stop and ask myself, wait, why am I choosing to do this? And sometimes it hits me like, oh, I don't have to do this right now, so I don't. But I own that choice. If I decide not to finish my laundry and then the next day I don't get to wear what I wanted to wear, hey, that's on me. I don't get to complain about it. I don't get to be resentful. I don't get to whine. I don't get to bitch. I don't get to cry. I made that choice. But this kind of responsibility, this kind of leaning into your agency will change everything. So that's the exercise for the week. The next time you feel obligated, the next time you feel like you have to do something, stop and ask yourself, why am I choosing to do this? And then decide if you're going to continue to do it. I do a lot of things I don't want to do because they are what allow me to continue doing things that I do want to do, or they continue to maintain situations that I want to maintain, or like doing them is less of a hassle than not doing them. There's a lot of things in my life that I do just because it's not worth the hassle. Like, it's not a hill I want to die on, but I'm still choosing. I'm choosing to do this thing instead of, blowing up a situation. Like, you're allowed to do that. That's what you got to embrace. Embrace that you are allowed to acknowledge your agency and acknowledge how many choices you're making. Don't give yourself the free pass of saying you have to do things. It's lazy. It's lazy, and it puts you at odds with your own choices, and that's a silly way to live. So that's the homework. That's the exercise for this week. Anytime you're feeling resistance to something, just stop and ask, why am I choosing to do this? And see how that changes your relationship to it.